Well, hello everyone. It's Ian here, and it's our Wednesday devotional thought time. And I had shared last week what we had typically been doing on Wednesday nights for Bible study is taking our theme from Sunday morning and digging in a little deeper with it. And whether you're able to join us or not on Sunday, our theme was love. Very simple thing, right? How do we love? What does it mean to love? And we focused in on what's known as the greatest commandment, Jesus' great teaching on love, where he's tested by some of the religious leaders and asked what the greatest commandment is. Basically, to take what we call the Old Testament, the entire Old Testament, and encapsulate it in one commandment without leaving anything out, without dishonoring God or Moses in any way. But here Jesus does answer their question. Actually gives a two-part answer, that we're all very familiar with. To love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself, that two-part command. That loving God with everything we are, everything we have, and loving our neighbor as ourselves. Sounds simple enough, but as you really dig into it, really think about it, it does really encapsulate all the other teachings that if we're fully loving God and fully loving one another, the rest of it will all fall into place. But the other piece of it is that's impossible to do from our perspective, isn't it? How can we love God perfectly with everything we are, every ounce of our being, and then love our neighbor very well? We just can't do it. We need God. Love is from God. We know love because he first loved us. It's only by his strength. But let's dig in for a minute into those where those words came from that Jesus was answering them with. The first part of that anyways comes from Deuteronomy 6. And here in chapter 4, it says, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength." And then he says this, "These commandments that I give you today are to be on your hearts. Impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home, when you walk along the road, when you lie down, when you get up. Tie them as symbols on your hands. Bind them on your foreheads. Write them on the door frames of your houses and on your gates." So as I was thinking about that a little more, why would he go to such great lengths to emphasize how they ought to remember this and to talk about this with one another and talk about this with their children and passing this on? And simply it's because we forget. We forget how good God is. We forget God's love for us and how we are to respond in love to him. We forget that he is the source of love. He is the one who strengthens us to love at all, to love him well, to love others well. So this emphasis on, writing it on your forehead, bind it on your foreheads, write on the door frames of your house, tie them up, symbols on your hand, that this overemphasizing, don't forget this. This is what you need to remember. But how quickly we forget things. But love comes from God. Love is from him. It strengthens us, and then we respond in love back to him. And it affects our relationship with him, affects our relationship with others. God is love. So whatever you have to do to remember that, have verses up in your home, devotions with your children or grandchildren, whatever it may be, to remind us that, God is love. He loves us. We love him out of the love that he has given to us. And that's how we respond. That's how we live. That's how we go about. That's like the breath that we breathe is God's love, that he sustains us. Well, I wanted to close our time with a simple song to respond to God. The simple song called "I Love You, Lord." Many of you will be familiar with it. If not, it's a very simple tune to pick up. I love you, Lord. lift my voice to worship you. Oh, my soul, rejoice. Take joy, my King, in what you hear. May it be a sweet, sweet sound in your ear. God bless you.